I realized in those months when I was unwell that I treated myself very badly and had pushed myself to the limits of what I could do. Yes, I was very successful. Yes, I earned a lot of money. Yes, I did had the nice holidays, had the nice clothes and whatever we think success is. I was depressed. I had high levels of anxiety. My confidence was at an all-time low, even though to the outside world I looked like the most confident person, kind of out there, which I think a lot of successful people can relate to. And I was dying inside, and literally I was dying inside.
I would always come to the exact same thing, either on Sunday morning or Monday morning. Because after the fights, after the competition, we always fly back or drive back home either on a Sunday morning or a Monday morning. And I would always come to the exact same conclusion, is I'd wake up in the morning asking myself, is that it? I've won this belt, woohoo, champion! Is that it? Yes, I won this tournament, first place, woohoo! Is that it? Because I wasn't happy. Yeah, sure, probably a little bit of happiness for that moment. But then once I woke up, I wasn't happy.
That's quite a shock to the system because you think you've done everything to make yourself successful. You think happiness is going to be there at that point. And it's quite a shock actually to many people. I think, well, it was to me. Oh my goodness, I've done everything that I was told. I got a good education, I've worked really hard, I've been an entrepreneur, I've done all of this. Where's the happiness? Where's the joy? Where is it? Because it's not there. It's not there unless you've worked on that aspect, of course, of bringing in the joy.
So my name is Sylvester Organka. I am a teacher, healer, as well as a guide at the Modern Mystery School, as well as a Warriors Light instructor and the Encyclic Ray administrative officer.
So I'm Divina Kate and I live in London. I run the UK and the European arm of the Modern Mystery School. I was an entrepreneur. My training was initially in television and film. And as I've mentioned before, I made some really bad television and not so good movies, but I had a great experience. But I knew that there was something more. I wanted to do something more. I wanted to do something that meant something.
So through Muay Thai, I was actually able to travel the world. And I was able to actually represent Canada multiple times on the international stage, eventually becoming a North American Muay Thai champion, national Canadian champion, as well as provincial Muay Thai champion. And on top of that, I started to expand my interest in combat sports and got into mixed martial arts, where I competed a whole bunch of times down in the States and absolutely fell in love with both sports.
My goodness, that is such a massive question, how I found the mystery school.
So I'm going to tell you a story about actually how I got into the Modern Mystery School. It all began back in 2003. My former coach for Sambo, he was actually flying back to Russia to move. And so I was left without a coach. And my whole goal was to become a mixed martial arts competitor, get into combat sports. So I was calling around a few different gyms around the city. And it just so happened I called this one gym. And who picked up the phone? It was Dave Lanyon. I was talking to him. He said, you know what, Sly, why don't you just come to the gym? I'll give you a tour of the place and you can see if you like it or not. So I believe it was like 2 or 3 days later, I go to the gym. Dave was right there. Opened up the door for me. Took a tour of the gym, looked at the heavy bags, the mats, and he's like, we sat down in the office afterwards. He's like, so, you like the gym? I'm like, yeah, I like it. You guys got a lot of things going on here, and I think I want to be a part of it. He's like, okay, perfect. And that's literally how I met Dave, was at a mixed martial arts gym, where I was then introduced to my present love, which I've been training and teaching, which is Muay Thai. And it was actually through the martial arts is how I met Dave Lanyon, and how we actually got talking about spirituality, and eventually then, of course, the Modern Mystery School.
I'd always noticed that I was very sensitive to certain situations, certain people, and I often found that quite a struggle. So I used work a lot of the time to dull those emotions. So I became very good at what I did in television and film initially, and I worked all the hours that you can imagine, and I burnt the candle at both ends, because I also went out and I loved dancing and the rave scene and the partying, and I loved all of it, but I didn't realize at the time that I was using it as a distraction. I noticed that I wanted to do something more in the world, so I decided I would set my own business up. And off I went to set my own business up, and I decided that I would open high-end dry cleaners. And I knew nothing about dry cleaning, by the way, nothing at all. But I knew that I had lots of clothes that needed dry cleaning on a weekly basis, that I wanted somebody to come and pick them up, drop them off. I lived in a fantastic apartment and had no storage. And so I had this great idea, and I thought, this is what I'll do. And so I did. I set up this dry cleaning business, and it became very successful. Had TV shows made about it, about how successful it was. I was an active member of the business community, and I was very good at it because I was still trying to distract myself from what I was feeling and what was going on. And so, of course, with being, very successful in business, you also have to do a lot of networking and entertaining. And of course, I was doing that in the evenings, and I was running my business in the day. And I noticed that this was stretching me to a point where I was becoming really unwell. I went to the doctors several times, and they said it was stress. They said, you're an entrepreneur, you're young. Perhaps drink some more water, I don't know, whatever they said, and deep down I knew there was something not quite right. And just before my 29th birthday, I went to the doctors, and they told me that I had cancer. It was a big shock, obviously, and the consultant said to me, it's likely that you will survive. So me being very positive, I heard I will survive. So I decided that I would use all of the tools that I learned in my business world, the power of the mind, to tackle my sickness, my illness. And so I started reading a lot of books on how to heal yourself, and I started to open myself back up into this world of holistic practices, of spirituality. It'd always been there. It's always something that I had enjoyed or secretly enjoyed, but it's not something that was, that I could be open about. I wanted to get better, and I knew that joy was the thing that was really missing in my life, because, I was so sad. I was so very sad inside. And I was kind of lying there, and I thought, okay, you've got to change something. Something has to change here, because if you don't change, this is going to kill you. You're not going to make it. So I got down on my hands and knees, and I prayed to God, and I said, if you help me find joy, I promise that I will help everybody else find it too. So that was my wish.
I was a sickly child. My mom took me to various doctors trying to figure out exactly what's wrong with me. However, despite taking various drugs and trying different therapies, nothing helped. I was still sick. So much so that I distinctly remember that one year, one of my teachers recommended that I actually stay behind an entire year of school. Meaning all my friends would all graduate to the next grade, and I get stuck behind because I missed so many days. My mom was exhausted, she was fed up. And one day she was looking at the Polish Gazette, and she noticed this hands-on healing this gentleman does Reiki. And she's like, you know what? I've done everything else, so why just try this? Remember the first 3 months I was seeing this gentleman, his name was Bogdan, for Reiki, and I was seeing him about twice a week. And the first 3 months, my health started to change. I was actually able to play with all the kids during recess, then after school I was able to go out and play with the kids in the neighborhood. 3 months after that, I was able to get into the volleyball team, as well as the track and field team. So within a 6-month period, my health completely changed, and changed for the better. Yet, the only thing that changed in that time span was just the Reiki sessions. Now, fast forward a couple of years later. I was getting ready for one specific tournament for Muay Thai. And again, my body was breaking down, because a training regimen for any combat sport athlete is a 6-week or 7-week training camp, training 2 to 3 times a day, anywhere between 2 to 3 hours each session. So my mind was breaking down, my body was breaking down. I was having a lot of injuries during this training camp. I was like, what do I need to do to never fix my body? I need something to heal. Sure, I had a lot of sports therapists, I had a great crew, but my body was still breaking down, as well as my mind. So you know what? I called out my old friend Bogdan that I did Reiki with when I was a child. And so for that 6 weeks during the training camp, I saw him about once or twice a week. And it changed everything. My body started to heal. My mind became sharper and clearer. And I was like, you know what? I don't know exactly what this Reiki stuff is, aside from, hands-on healing, but it works. And it's actually what helped me actually continue to fight for that one tournament.
And so I quickly started to get better. And I remember the doctors were very amazed at how well, I was after a short period of time. And very quickly I met my husband, Robin, and I sold my business, my dry cleaning business, and we moved to the Middle East. And I saw this article in the newspaper. They were talking about this thing called the life activation. And I remember thinking, I've read about this. I know about DNA activation. I know this is something that I need. This is the magic. This is it. This is what I've been looking for. So I called the lady up, and we've got a class called Empower Thyself happening in Dubai. Would you like to come? I said, I would.
And I sat in class and I was just totally blown away by the amount of information, the depth of what was being taught, the complexity of what was being taught. And it totally just opened up my mind and my eyes to what these teachings are really about.
I got on a plane, went to Dubai, and spent 2 days in the classroom. And it was a very intense experience because one part of me knew that it was something that I had been looking for, but the other part of me that didn't want the responsibility and didn't want, oh my goodness, what is this, was kind of pushing against it. So it was a very, very intense experience is the best way I can explain it. But being very British, I thought, well, I'm just going to sit through the whole thing. It'd be very rude now if I left. And so I'll just sit here and I'll just, just listen to what they've got to say. I did. I had my initiation at the end. I went home and I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to use any of that. I'm not going to do it. Luckily, my business brain kicked in and said, well, you've paid for that, so you may as well use it. So I did. So I started using these tools, the rituals, we call them in the oldie worldy speak. I think people call them techniques or tools or whatever you want to call them, but rituals. I use these rituals and the pain in my body started to disappear. I couldn't believe it, that this pain, because when you've been sick, even though you're well, medically maybe getting well, you still have a lot of pain in the body and in the mind. It's not just an overnight process. So this pain started to dissipate, and the cysts that I still had, they disappeared. My mind started to get clearer. The fog that had been there for so long, the anxiety, the depression, the sadness, all started to lift. I was just like, I could breathe, it's just one of the most amazing things. And I remember at the time, it seemed like it took forever. But actually, when I look back, it only took 2 or 3 months.
So the essence is to understand and to connect to our unlimited potential. Because what happens is, outside of that, we're so focused on trying to maintain, or not maintain, but reach our maximum human potential. But the problem with trying to find our maximum human potential, there's a ceiling. And you're gonna hit that ceiling really, really quick. But there's more beyond that. Now we're looking at not our human potential, but our unlimited potential.
I applied my discipline, I applied my focus, and I was very strict with myself. I'm going to do these every single day, I'm going to stick to it, and I'm going to see what the results are. Sure enough, they worked. And for me, that was the key. I was like, okay, something is happening here this has never happened in my life before. With all the different modalities I've tried, all the different things I've tried in my life to bring this joy in, to bring this wellness in, nothing like this has ever happened. And it allows you to shed, it allows you to go deeper and deeper and deeper, way deeper than you could possibly, or let's say, I could possibly go on my own at that time. It was a whole process. So I understood that concept the higher my vibration got, that is the frequency that I was going to live in my life. So for me, how success has looked as an initiate is very different to how I achieved success pre-initiation. Pre-initiation, I had success, what people would say is success. So that is a house, a car, money, friends, a business, a nice handbag every so often, I don't know, whatever you want to buy. It's like, okay, I need more, I need more, I need more. It's like a bottomless pit of, more, more, more. There's no gratification. It doesn't fulfill you. The joy isn't overbrimming within you. And that's the difference, that I experienced after initiation is it was all about the joy. And then success was a byproduct of that. So it was the other way around. So I did everything to bring joy. I did everything that I possibly could to live in joy. That doesn't mean there are no challenges. That doesn't mean that you don't work hard or have discipline, because I worked incredibly hard to do that. Do you think ultimately, okay, well, I just should be happy, or I should just be joy, or I should just be in peace. That should be my, natural state, and there's something wrong with me if I'm not feeling that. But actually, it's something that you need to work on, just like anything else. And so when I had my initiation, I understood, okay, I need to work on this. I'm going to use my rituals. I'm going to use my training to bring in this joy, to live in joy, and to do things that bring me joy, even though logically my mind was telling me, you're never going to make any money at this. How are you going to afford your mortgage? How are you going to do this? How are you going to, because I've got my business brain, kicking in 24/7. And somehow that voice inside, that inner voice, that guidance, the higher self, whatever you want to call it, was saying, come on, Kate, you can do this. Just do this. Trust yourself. You can do it.
So there was a time, I distinctly remember I was talking to Dave about quitting the sport of fighting, quitting Muay Thai, because I didn't have the heart or the love for it anymore. But because I've been competing and been doing martial arts for so long, that's all I ever knew. And that's all I believed that I was. So for me to let go of that aspect, or that part of me, means there's nothing. What can I do? But Dave Lane said to me that, Sly, martial arts or combat sports, you fighting, you being a Muay Thai fighter, that's only an aspect of who you are. That's not you in its totality. There's so many other parts of you. There's so many other things that you can do, that you can learn, that you already know, that you can apply. And the other thing was the fact that then you could take everything you learned from the martial arts and apply it to all these other aspects of your life. And I never looked at it like that. I never looked at myself like that. Because all I ever saw was the martial artist, the fighter, the Muay Thai champion. And so for me to take that away, I was like, well, what's left? Oh, it's just an empty shell. But rather, it was just an aspect of who I am. It's not me. It's not me as a whole. There's a lot more to me. And that really shifted how I looked at myself. That really shifted how truly there really is unlimited potential of what I can accomplish or what I can become. And I'm not just set or strung or tied up to just one single aspect of who I am. And it's because of that I am who I am to this day. I'm part of the school, and I do what I do, and I actually love and have joy in what I do. It was all because of that conversation that I had regarding me not being able to fight. What am I going to do?
When you're working in alignment, you know inside, you know yourself. It goes back to that knowing yourself. You know inside that this is something that you need to do or need to achieve. And when you've done it, it gives you fulfillment. When you're living in in alignment to your mission, to your purpose, to your whatever terminology you want to, call it, When you're doing that, abundance will flow, joy will flow, health will flow, everything flows. So real magic is living a joyous life. Real magic is living a life in alignment of peace, of abundance, all these different things. That is magic. It's not conjuring, it's not pulling the rabbit out of a hat. It's a key that unlocks the unlimited power within you. Because the universe is contained within you. Everything you need to know, everything that you desire is all within. And all the Mystery School Path does is help you unlock that magic within yourself.
You know, one of my favorite moments in my whole fighting career was actually not a win. And even though, I became North American champion, it actually wasn't even that. The thing that got me most excited, or the thing that's most memorable, was when I was representing Canada in the World Muay Thai Championships out in Thailand. And I distinctly remember I was fighting against Ireland, and he threw an elbow right across my face. And I remember for like a nanosecond blacking out. And he pushed me, he hit me so hard, I went back up against the ropes, and I saw him, and for a second I blacked out. And as I opened up my eyes, he was coming towards me, and I didn't stop. I just threw a big uppercut right up the middle. Boom, his head goes up in the air, he's looking up at the ceiling, he takes 3 or 4 steps back, and then we're right back in the center ring hitting. And it was the fact that what that taught me, and why that guy was so exciting for me in that moment, and why it's so memorable, is the fact that I took the hit and I kept going forward. Like, even though my back was up against the rope, I still managed to come forward and continue that fight. And for me, that was the most memorable thing, because it shows that through all that training, just how tough one can become.
So why do we need a life activation or initiation, if all the magic is within us? Well, if you want to be the best at anything in the world, we all have training. We all have a system that we follow. We all have techniques that have been used over and over again that this is how we do this certain thing. Whatever path you choose are going to have a certain set of tools or certain set of techniques or rituals or a process to get you to that top of the mountain. So these are the tools that we use. And when we do that, it opens those pathways within us and creates this alchemical process for us to live a life. So it's a system, an 8,000-year-old system that is for us to utilize. Now, training to be an athlete and building muscle is hard. Training to be the best musician in the world and overcoming all that you need to is hard, So when you stand in the light and you want something that is of the light and of the highest good, when sometimes around you other people are not choosing that, they may be choosing the chocolate cake and you want to eat the apple or whatever it is, and that's why it's hard, because you have to go against the grain. You have to go what's right for you. Have to go with what supports you, and it doesn't always do the same as what society does. Every single initiate that we have has had to overcome so much, and they've stood in the light and said, no, I want something more, I want something better, I want to raise my vibration, I want to support my family and humanity, this is what I want.
So I've been part of the Mystery School since 2005. And I did take a break. I took a whole year off. Well, why? I had to sit back and I had to take myself away from everything that the Mystery School was all about and what it was doing, because I wanted to know whether or not I truly wanted to be part of it. So when I was ready to come back, of course, I spoke to my guy, which was Dave Lanyon. I told him that, hey, and I explained to him, I go, this is what I want to do. This is what genuinely brings me joy to my life. To not only help myself, but more so to help everyone around me. Because the results are in the fruit. And I want to see that fruit every single day of my life. So I knew I could be part of that school once again. And Dave Lang opened his arms, welcomed me back, and I've been here ever since.
Whatever you choose in life, whatever path it is, do it well. Do it well. Even if you don't choose the mystery school, hopefully you'll find the mystery school one day and you'll be lucky enough to get a life activation and initiation. Maybe that'll happen. But whatever path you choose something. Do something. Don't just sit there and do nothing. Choose what it is that you want to apply your will to, apply it, do it well, with focus, with discipline, with joy, and live a life that you are happy with and enjoy with. And you can look back and say, do you know what? I did my absolute best and I did everything that I wanted to do.
To me, a spiritual warrior is one that can admit and can see their own shortcomings. They can admit and see their own demons. And they're actually willing to do something about it, to improve themselves. Because most don't. Most want to hide it. Most want to bury it as deep as they possibly can, or put it in the far, far corners of their mind. But as a spiritual warrior, you can't do that. You have to bring that up to the surface. You have to face it, you have to confront it, you have to put it directly in front of you and say, hey, I don't like this aspect of me. What can I do to make it better? What can I do to improve it? Because as we begin to improve ourselves, then we can start to help other people around us. Because now we have some sort of formula that we utilize, some techniques, maybe some principles, whatever it might be, that in order for us to overcome our shortcomings or whatever personal demons that we're fighting. And so that spiritual warrior not only confront his or her own, but then they will also help other people. And that is what the Modern Mystery School is training for all of us to do.
I don't know what makes this mystery school so unique and so special. I can tell you that I know the power of the lineage is something that I've never experienced anywhere else. That's been, this magic and this power has been handed down for thousands of years. We stand on the shoulder of great human beings that have served humanity for thousands of years. The power of that is unquantifiable. For me, that's what makes it unique. But when I stand there, holding that light, serving another god, goddess, it's so very special because you are not standing there alone. You're standing there with that lineage, that power of all those initiates behind you. So if I could turn around, and I often do this. I thank them. I thank every single initiate that has come before me, because it takes incredible bravery, incredible courage to hold the light in a world that, let's face it, isn't doing too well. They've stood up for the light, they've stood up for humanity, they've stood up for what's good, and that is something that's quite special.